Year 11 and welcome to this video that will explain some techniques that you can use on how to remember persuasive devices. Useful acronym to use, which hopefully will stick in your mind, is FARTED more. F in FARTED more stands for facts. Facts are something that can be proved to be true through statistics or evidence. For example, it is a fact that 17% of the Amazon rainforest has been destroyed. Or, it is a proven fact that students behave better when wearing school uniform. A in FARTED more is alliteration. Alliteration is a repetition of sounds at the start of words near to each other to create an effect. Don't mistake this as a repetition of letters, because different letters can also create the same sound. For example, those cold-blooded callous killers. Notice that the K and the C create the same sound. It is time to soften our hearts and soothe our minds to the sedative sounds of nature. Notice that the S words are not directly next to each other, they're just near to each other to create an effect. With alliteration, you want to think about the sort of sound you are trying to create through your alliteration. Don't just repeat any particular sound. You've got to think of, am I trying to create a hard, sharp sound with my alliteration, or am I trying to create a soft sound? For example, in the second example here, soft, sedative sounds of nature, that sound is being mimicked through the repetition of the S, the sibilant alliteration. Okay, and cold-blooded callous killers, the hard, sharp C sound mimics the callous killers. So just think, if you're using alliteration, does it fit with what it is that you're trying to describe? R in FARTED more stands for rhetorical questions. These are using questions to pose ideas and make your audience think but not reply. The answer to the question should be inferred. It's not that it's obvious, but it's something that your audience should feel like they should know when they think about your question. For example, can we all really survive alone on this planet? Is the death of an innocent child worth another 5 miles per hour? The T in FARTED more stands for triplets, or you may know this as the rule of 3. This is the idea of using 3 adjectives or nouns to describe or introduce something to add impact. For example, nuclear energy is dangerous, harmful and hazardous, and there is an example of using 3 adjectives. Or stress, anxiety, frustration. At the end of term, students' emotions are out of control and we should not be setting hours and hours of homework. So there you've got an example of using 3 nouns at the start of a sentence, and here I've given you an example of a triple noun colon sentence start. So an example of where you can combine techniques in your writing. So we have a triple noun colon, but we also have a rule of 3. The E in FARTED more stands for emotive vocabulary, which is the deliberate choice of words to elicit emotion. Ideas can be expressed in a way that is either positive or negative, or welcoming or threatening. So it creates some sort of emotion in your reader through the vocabulary that you use in your writing. For example, the defenseless victims were attacked in the cover of night. Can you really abandon these puppies to life in such filthy kennels? And those are, of course, an example of ideas being expressed in a negative way. Or a more positive example of emotive vocabulary, which isn't as common. You could have make your wardrobe sparkle with our desirable new winter collection. It's not something you would probably use in your exam answer. The D in FARTED more stands for direct address, which is addressing your reader or your audience directly using names or pronouns. For example, we are one body, we cannot act alone. You'll notice I've been inspired by J.B. Priestley with that quotation. Or, I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation, taken there from Martin Luther King's speech. So you'll notice there the example of I, you and our, and the change of pronouns you can use to bring your reader or your audience onto your side, or you can use them to feel like the people you are speaking to are already agreeing with you and on your side. And the M in FARTED more stands for metaphor. A metaphor is describing something by comparing it to something else that has something in common with it, but it is not the same thing. For example, speeding is a death sentence. Education is an exam factory. Self-isolation is hell. The O in FARTED more stands for opinions. And you would use opinions to suggest that your idea is right and the most widely believed idea. Or they can be used as a pivot for an argument to turn things around. So, for example, it is a common opinion that students look smarter in uniform than threatening hoodies and trainers. So here you're suggesting that because most people believe it, therefore it's right. You're not saying it's a fact. You're not backing it up with statistics and evidence. You're just saying that, well, most people believe it. It's most people's opinion. Therefore, you're making it suggest that if your reader or your audience think otherwise, they're not in the most common group of people, and therefore they're alienating themselves. Or, of course, we as a community believe this is the only right way to commemorate those lost. So you're suggesting if your reader or your audience disagree with the community and those people's opinions, they're suggesting that they're wrong, okay, and they're not right. And the R in FARTED more stands for repetition. It can also be called an aphora, and this is repeating a powerful word or phrase for effect. So, for example, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world. This year's results are a triumph for pupils, a triumph for staff, a triumph for the future. So you want to pick a powerful phrase that you use and you want to scatter it and repeat it. You can repeat it close to each other like these examples are, or you could use it throughout your speech at the beginning, at the middle, at the end for a particular powerful effect. Okay, and finally, the E in FARTED more stands for experts. This is the idea of using an expert in a specific field to add weight and authority to your argument. For example, medical experts at AstraZeneca claim the COVID-19 vaccine is over 95% successful. Or, Rugby World Cup medical staff Jeff South claims physical contact sports has had a direct impact on players' disability in later life. Now notice how brief and succinct these ones are. This comes with a health warning. At no point should you start writing an interview with your expert. It is a brief passing statement on the experts in the field. Okay, no direct long dialogue between yourself and them. You don't interview them, you don't report with them, just a sentence claiming what they have said and then move on. You just use them to back up your argument and give weight and authority to it. So to recap, F for facts, A for alliteration, R for rhetorical questions, T for triplets, E for emotive vocabulary, D for direct address, M for metaphors, O for opinions, R for repetition, and E for experts. Remember this, kids, and you'll be on to a winner. Why not hit that subscribe button? And here's another video to watch.